When you come into the world, we take on the identity of those who are more powerful than us. What we're looking for is a kind of person who is looking for meaning. What's the meaning of life? Why am I here?
Hi, I'm Alan Masters, and I'm back again for another Sunday Conversation. First of all, I want to start out by saying thank you for your emails and your comments on the Sunday Conversations that we have been doing. I come here usually without anything in my mind. Usually I don't have a subject or a topic. God puts into my heart some little thing. Sometimes it's a couple words like fear not from last week. Stand ready. There's been a lot of topics that were just 2 words. And I kept on, waiting today for my 2 words, kind of God's 2 cents. And then it's up to me to try and take that 2 cents and make a profit with it and turn it into $2 or $200. But today, I haven't really gotten anything yet. And I thought to myself, wow, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to talk about, Lord? And right about that time, what came into my heart? The Lord is your shepherd. And I said, yes, that's it. I read this on the show the other day. It's Psalm 23. And this Bible is from the 1800s. So I haven't read it from here yet, but I think it's the same in all Bibles. I hope it is. It says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." And I thought, boy, that's just enough all by itself right there. The Lord is my shepherd. Last week I talked about, for a lot of the folks that have been following my father for many, many years, how they've been using him as a crutch, using my father as a crutch. What would Roy do? What does Roy think? The bigger question is, what do you think? What does your soul tell you? What do your prayers, what answers do those prayers give you? I find that my intuition is my best friend. My intuition, to me, when I say the word intuition, I think of the inner voice, my inner guidance mechanism, my inner navigation. Sometimes I reduce it to one word and call it my gut. There's more going on than just my gut, but when I travel through my life and I think, which way should I go? And my gut says, go that way. Or my gut says, don't go anywhere. You need to just hang tight. This is the intuition. This is the voice of God guiding you. And I think to myself, well, here I am now, wishing I had, all the answers the way that I used to when my father was able to just, hour upon hour talk about life and the meaning of life and your purpose of life and the mistakes that we make and how we can, strive to do better as human beings in this world and not to react to anger and stress and to meditate. And then I thought, oh, wait a minute. It always comes back to meditate. I think it was Blaise Pascal, and I could be wrong, and I'm just going to botch it. I'm going to do my best, but all the problems in the world are man's inability to sit in a room by himself. Forgive me if I mess that up. Isn't he describing meditation? To be by yourself quietly and to be able to be still and know who is God, and be thankful that you can actually communicate at that level. And most people, boy, and I've been saying this for 30 years, most people pray and they wait for a brick to come flying through the window, crash. There's a brick and there's a note on it from God that says you should do this and you should do that. It doesn't happen that way. Interestingly enough, it is that intuition, that gut feeling, that guidance mechanism that we should all be using right now during these perilous times. Should we look at the Bible? The Bible, this is from the 1800s. It's falling apart. It's literally falling apart. I mean, if I could tell you this, it's not even all connected. And so that's why it sits here very carefully. And every now and then I'll try and find something in it. But I use usually a little newer version because, I can move it around and it won't fall apart. And this is actually my brother's Bible. But it's fun to take a look at this Bible that is literally from the 1800s. I think it's at least 200 years old. But it has the exact same truth that is relevant today. The exact same truth. Thousands of years now, the exact same truth that have been the guidance system for men and women in this world that too many of us have not listened to. We read it, it tells us what to do, and we go our own way. That's okay. That's what life's for. Life is for trial and error. And then you get to the point where you say, boy, if I keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome, but I get the same outcome, that's the definition of insanity, of course. But at some point you get to that point where you go, oh, what did the Bible say? And you go back and you research and you go, oh yeah. As you go through the shadow of the valley of death, fear no evil. Why? Because God has got your back. But if you've been living a wrong life, a decadent life, and ignoring for year after year after year, decade after decade, and you still haven't heard or heeded God's word, then you have to wonder, don't you? You cannot continue to live the way that you are and have been and expect God to have your back. Listen, God is a forgiving God, but he also remembers. So he watches what you do in your life and he waits. He waits for you the same way that we've talked about. President Trump has been waiting for Seattle and Portland and all these cities to ask for help. When the city is all burned down and then they go, will you help us with some money? Trump's saying, no, you let that happen. I wonder what happens in heaven. When our life burns down and we say, God, please. My guess is we have a merciful God and he will help. But what will be left of you? What will be left of you on this world? So I look at my life now and I say, enough. Enough of the making excuses. Enough of the, this is a tough one, but I'll say it. Enough of the lying. Because I can lie to my own self. We lie to our own selves. So am I a liar? Yeah. I've been lying to myself for years. I've been lying to myself because I'd rather believe the lie. The lie is a little easier to believe than the truth. What's that movie? You don't want to know the truth. You can't handle the truth. It's pretty true. It's totally true. The truth is, most of us are gigantic walking egos, gigantic walking pride. If you remember the movie Ghostbusters and the big green blob that was the naughty ghost that was really hard to catch. That's, I think, what most of us really look like inside, a big green blob. hard to catch, naughty. But at some point, we have to catch that ghost, that naughty little kid that's running rampant inside of us. And we have to sit him down and say, okay, enough. Enough. The time has come. We've had literally generations of people, generations of humanity that have allowed this naughty little boy to do whatever he wanted to believe the lies, to continue to be a gigantic walking ego and pride. We've lived this world into where it's at today. We've lived life with gusto, right? The majority of us. And what has gusto really got us? I fortunately have never been a drinker, smoker, drug taker of any kind. And so I've always had a certain amount of clarity. But the one thing I could not overcome was my own ego, my own pride. Oh, pride's a big thing. Pride is as big as Mount Kilimanjaro, and you can't get over it. It takes Sherpas to help you just get up the side of it. And if you're lucky enough to get to the top, then what? You're at the top of your ego and you're top of your pride, and you look around and you go, well, I'm going to be all alone. I think it's better living with my pride and all my supporters of my pride, all the people that are allowing my fake life to exist. It isn't really a real life. It's a fake life. It's a facade. So, it's funny. Here comes 2020. Here comes 2020. And everything that we could use to distract ourselves from taking a look at ourselves is gone or diminished to the point of the excitement isn't what it ever was. Baseball, football, basketball, all those sporting events. Most of the woke basketball and football players that are supporting this wickedness that's going on in the world, I don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch them with their huge, huge egos, their huge pride. I don't want to watch them. It used to be fun because they were just basketball players, and as long as they kept their mouth shut and you didn't really know what they thought, you'd watch, and it was kind of fun just for the sport of it because you play basketball when you were a kid, or football or baseball. But today, there's so many of us that we look at this and we go, I don't want to watch that hypocrite. I don't want to watch that gigantic egomaniac, that narcissist. I don't want to watch that baby murderer. I don't want to watch that anarchist. No, I don't want to watch any of those people play sports. I won't support it. I don't want to pay, especially. But even on television, if you watch it on television, you're still helping them to get paid to destroy what America stands for. Although then you may say to yourself, well, that's their right. That's their freedom of speech. It is. Yes. And the left, the far left, will use all of our laws and our rules against us in that same way. Look, right now, you can't really go to church. I mean, some churches are open, but you can't really go to church, and you have to wear a mask, and you have to sit 6 feet apart. But if you want to go riot, do whatever you want. Burn the town down. Burn the cop cars. Do whatever you want. You can't even sing in church because you're spreading the virus. And now our president has got COVID-19, and his wife. And I know a lot of people that have had it. I think it's going to be just a tiny little hiccup. It's like everybody gets a cold. Everybody eventually gets the flu. Everybody does. I think everybody's going to eventually get COVID-19 at some point. I think we're also going to have something, I think they call it herd immunity, which means that at some point we'll be able to overcome this, and they'll have some different ways to help us get over it, like hydroxychloroquine, and they're practicing some other different things. But who cares? Because everybody eventually gets something. Well, it's all how it's spun in the media. The media spins it into where you become afraid. You become afraid to get too close to people. You become afraid to go to the movies. I went to the movies last night and I saw Dinesh D'Souza's Infidel. Interesting movie. But we were the only people in the movie theater. The only ones. We had an entire movie theater to ourselves, my wife and I. We had to wear masks. We thought, okay, well, when it gets dark, you can pull it down and at least you can breathe, because I don't get enough oxygen behind those masks. It's a strange thing that we're living in this world of fear right now. Faithlessness. Coming back to the Lord as my shepherd. What happened to the people? What happened to all the churchgoers that lived going to church every Sunday, knowing that God has got their back and that he will protect them? I imagine back in the day when this book was being written, they had plagues, didn't they? As I remember. Leprosy and all kinds of plagues that were going around. I imagine a lot of people lived in fear as well. But we're here. It did not wipe out the human race. So we're here. The strongest will survive. The most strongest and most faithful will survive. But I find great peace in Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd. And I've said it before, I stand ready. And all of a sudden I have been called to sit here and talk to you folks about life. How to deal with life. How to deal with fear, anxiety. Now, fortunately, my father before me has written many books on the subject, and they're all very, very good, and you know that. If you're just joining us for the first time, check out our website, fhu.com, fhu.com, and you'll be able to see all the books and the teachings of a half a century plus from my father. Now, what's my job? My job is to keep kind of like, keep the flame lit, keep the torch lit, keep the light on the path. But here we are. Here we are in a world of pandemic with what we always thought was the news that we could rely on lying to us. Lying, blatantly lying to us. And the people that we thought we could trust, we're finding out that they're not trustworthy at all. That they are very crafty in their ways. And even this pandemic, this virus, this flu is man-made and it's patented. You cannot patent things of nature. You can't patent them. It's illegal. But this Corona-19 is patented, which means that it's man-made. And they've released it on us at the exact precise time that it could do the most damage for the left, for the Democratic Party to win and to be able to put us into slavery of their crazy ways. So, yep, I believe that. I believe that. A lot of my friends, sadly, I guess I still call them my friends, but they probably won't be my friends anymore unless they decide that they want to switch parties. Because how can I be friends with murderers, baby murderers, and people that are choosing to live this life? I really can't. I have to make a choice. I have to make a choice. I cannot. What is the word? When you go out to dinner with people and you just have a good time, I cannot do that anymore with people that I know that would murder a baby. I can't. I don't want to. I can't. I just felt a tiny little pain in my heart when I said that. It's just so wicked. 60 million babies have been murdered. Can't do it. So I have to thin my crowd. Narrow is the path and few that will find it. So I have to thin my crowd. I think that's probably a safe way to say it. And it's sad because I'll miss their company. But also, you can't get rid of your demons if you like their company. And the problem is, if I harbor a criminal, then I too am a criminal. If somebody robs a bank and they come to my house and they say, I just robbed a bank. You got to hide me. I have a choice to make right then and there. If they're not holding a gun to my head, I'm going to say, you know what? Don't hide here. You're guilty. I am not going to hide you here. I'm not going to hide you at all. You have to go. You have to go. Thin the crowd. Thin your crowd. Make that choice because God will be watching. Narrow is the path, few that will find it. So back to intuition. What does your intuition tell you about that? Am I right? Is it the truth and you don't like it? Because, so-and-so is believes in abortion. I really like so-and-so. So-and-so can help me get into football games. And so-and-so can, he's got nice cars and he lets me drive his car every now and then, or whatever it is. So-and-so, as my dad would say, is a so-and-so. I have to be careful who I spend time with. You have to be careful who you spend time with. The people you spend the most time with, the five people you spend the most time with, are pretty much the collective soul of you. You are taking on their ways of thinking. It's your tribe. What does your tribe represent? I talked about it the other day with a friend of mine. She didn't like Trump. And I said, well, which one of these two are pro-life? Which one of these two men that are running for president? One is the president right now. He's pro-life. The other one, not so much, baby murderer. And I said to this friend of mine, I said, aren't you a Christian woman? Yes, I am. I said, well, if that's the only reason, that's a good enough reason for me. Because other than that, there's so much going on in all of the politics of today. But if I just start there as the foundation, pro-life, and I build on top of that layer after layer of other things that this president has done, he's kind of a natural choice for anybody that is Judeo-Christian, that has beliefs in the sanctity of life. Look what's going on outside. That represents Joe Biden and the left. So it's not a hard choice for me. It's not a hard choice for me at all. But these people that are on the left, boy, if I put the tiniest thing on social media that is anything pro-Trump, anything at all, they come after me like hornets, mean hornets, like I've smacked their nest. Mean hornets. It's a very dangerous world outside right now. Thin the herd, because you cannot trust everybody in your life right now. You can't just say, oh, Joe's okay. Jim, John, Fred, Sally, Mary, Sue, whoever it is. You have to look at what their values are. What do they stand for? The same way we look at the next presidential election. What do these two men values? What do they stand for, each of them? And we make a choice and we vote that way. This is the person I want leading our country. But you have to look at your social network and say, wow, look at all these people in my social network. And it's funny because it took me quite a while to start thinning my herd, thinning the people I spend time with or I give my attention to. Because if you're looking at social media and you're reading their posts, I don't want that in my head. I don't want the garbage they are spewing in my head. So we live in this world today that is full of this social media, which is probably more than half of where we get our information. More than half of where we get our information. And so, because the world is so different than it used to be, where you got it from the news guy on television, and now today, it's all these different social media sites, because we live on these things. We live on them. We wake up in the middle of the night. Oh, let's see what's going on. We stop at, the stoplight. Oh, let's see. Got 2 minutes here. Oh, look at that. Somebody got killed last night. Yeah, I drove by somebody that ran across the road and they got hit by a car. Boom, they're dead laying in the middle of the road. They had the road blocked off. Immediately I could go on and say, yep, that was a man. I thought it was a woman, long hair. But you have immediate interaction with what's going on in the world. So these phones that we have are the gateway to information. And no longer is it the big news services. But those big news services have to be more and more brash and more exciting and more crazy to make you go, oh, did you hear what Tucker said? And I happen to love Tucker Carlson, or did you hear what whoever it is from the left, I can't even think of any names, Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo, these two idiots from CNN, you watch them talking to each other. I watch them talking to each other every so often. And it's like watching two kids from the Lord of the Flies planning this horrible uprising. You could just see it taking place. And it's amazing. And I think, I can't watch that. I don't want to know what they're thinking. I don't even want to know what they're thinking, because then it makes your head spin around and go, oh no, this is what's going to happen, and that's what's going to happen, and look what they said, and we live in a world of Chicken Littles. I don't want to live in a world of Chicken Littles. I don't want to see what is coming out of the minds of these demented human beings in my social network. Thin the herd. So I'll tell you why I'm talking about this, because I decided, all right, I'm gonna start to thin the herd. I'm gonna start to not allow as many people into my tribe. Don't know how else to say it. It's like a social media tribe. So I decided, all right, this guy, he said one thing too many, nasty, evil, mean-spirited thing. I just thought, okay, click, unfriend, it's over. Bye-bye. And I was like, gosh, that felt good. Because you know what? He puts in his words, he puts hate. And I read those words the same way I read the beautiful words of the Bible, and I feel hope. And in his words in social media, I feel hate. I feel his hate coming through his words, and then I start to react. It's very, very subtle. You read these words and you start to react. It's a tiny little nuclear reactor that's begun. And then you read the comment from one of his rotten friends, and that person is agreeing, and then you get angrier and angry, and all of a sudden then you gotta react too. You gotta tell them how wrong they are. And then 75 messages later, 75 comments later, you have started a rotten, angry war, a battle in social media world. It's an alternate universe, a parallel universe. Another book my dad has written. Boy, there is such a parallel universe. It's unbelievable. We're living today in all of what my father's talked about for the last half a century. It's come true. It's here. It's now. And it's going to continue to get darker and darker. And the reason why is because we have all been fed into the machine through these stupid little things. And oddly enough, if you talk about something, these things are listening at all time. I've talked about this before. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about overstocked items, and the next thing you know, I'm being fed all kinds of overstocked items in social media. Advertisements, overstock this, overstock that. You talk about an auction. See, now as I'm talking, this is listening. It'll start feeding me because it's listening to everything we're saying. It's listening when you're lying in bed having a conversation with your wife, or your husband, if you're got it sitting next to you. It's listening. It's listening if you're having sex. It's listening to everything. These things and these things here, measuring my heartbeat at all times, measuring all kinds of information. We've fed ourselves into the ultimate social media experiment. How much can we be controlled? Well, evidently, we are totally controlled, except those that use the Lord as their shepherd instead of social media as their shepherd. And unfortunately, we are being shepherded by social media. The mass majority is being shepherded, and they're going to shepherd us with their staff over to the left and have us vote to the left. These giant organizations like Google and Facebook and Twitter, rotten to the core. I go back all the time and look at things that I've posted. Well, evidently, they're all lies. Evidently, the fact checkers have determined that everything I've posted that has anything to do with politics or any of that were all not true. How can that possibly be? How can everything that the left says be the truth and be factual, and everything that the right says be not true because the fact checkers say so? My God, we are being shepherded by a dark shepherd through social media, through what we read on social media, what we allow into our homes through social media, and through these machines, the movies we watch, the things we watch on television, and even the news. So be careful. Be careful what news you watch. I've said on my radio show with my brother David, Perilous World Radio, I said, this Chris Wallace guy, he's dead to me. I won't watch him at all. At all. I also won't believe a word that comes out of John Roberts' mouth anymore, because I've watched him last week do something that was pure evil about white supremacy and whether or not the President of the United States had condemned white supremacy, and he has 100 times, and they've got it all over that he has condemned it over and over and over again. And just because he wouldn't say it exactly the way that John Roberts wanted to, or Kayleigh McEnany, or whoever it was, he was at a press conference, and then he says, my wife originally asked this question. She works for ABC News. I went, oh, there you go. This guy he's got his own battle going on in his bedroom with his left-leaning wife. So he's the guy on the right that isn't really on the right. He's over there on Fox News, and I don't trust. My gut says don't trust him anymore. So I look at these people now and I'm like, I'm not going to believe a word he says. I'm not going to believe a word that person says. And I'm just cutting them out. The only people I want to watch anymore is Tucker Carlson and some Sean Hannity. And the rest of it, I'll give it a little chance. But as soon as they start spinning their garbage, click, turn it off, go outside and pull weeds, pick up dog poop. It's actually cleaner than allowing it to be shoved into my brain by the news. So the same goes for social media. Got to thin that herd. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's time. It's time that we make a choice. It's time that we remember the words that God has told us. He will be our shepherd. He will protect us. But we must be faithful to him, faithful to his word, faithful to what he has taught us through the Bible, what he has taught us through his son's life, Jesus Christ, he's given us the roadmap. How much easier can it be? But you got to leave that decadent life behind. You got to leave the evil side of you behind. You can't take it to heaven with you. It's just like here on this earth, people get super, super rich, and they're greedy, and they're disgusting with their wealth, excess, wretched excess of all things. And then they'll have, good things they can do with their money. They don't support the things that are good. They just keep hoarding to themselves, adorning themselves with more expensive things that don't bring them one step closer to God. So I'm just trying to learn how to have humility. And it's not something that comes natural to a full-grown man, because the ego wants to be God. But I want to live in gratitude with humility. If I try my best, maybe I'll figure out what that is. And I'm working on it every day. I want to be a servant. I want to help people. And I've been working on a project, a private project for some friends that I made, and been helping them in their life. And I said to my wife, I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm not sure how to explain it, but I'm compelled to do it. Working hard with my hands, doing things that I haven't done in years, construction and, building things and plumbing and jackhammering and making decisions that cost money. That I want money. I want piles of money and stacks of money, but I'm spending my precious money on this project that doesn't really have a return. Oh, but wait a minute. But does it? What return are you looking for? What return on investment do we really want? And is everything about a monetary return on investment? No. It's about redeeming yourself for being selfish, for being self-righteous, for wanting to be God, for spitting in God's face when we were arrogant fools. Because that's what you do. Shunning the Lord himself. We've all done it. We've all done it. And he knows we're going to do it. And he watches patiently, quietly, never stops speaking into our heart and giving us opportunities to see the light, to see the truth. Yet something else calls louder. Something else shines brighter for a moment, for a fraction of a moment. Something shiny. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is we've got to thin the herd. We've got to make choices for the right reasons for once in our life, because we've allowed our world to selfishly become what it is today. And we don't like what we're seeing right now. We really don't like what we're seeing. And we are at fault. We are all at fault. Going for the gusto. Trying to grab more than our share. Trying to be man God or woman God. Using all the dark arts. Using all the dirty, rotten tricks that somebody else tricked us with and going, hey, that was pretty smart. I'm going to try that. Or not even thinking those thoughts, but when the opportunity comes, remembering the dark trick instead of listening to the intuition that says, no, don't do that. It's not right. It's the quiet voice instead of the loud, crazy, exciting voice. It's the unexciting voice. because that excitement is a flash in the pan, a drop of water in a hot frying pan, and it's gone. I would like to be able to hear my Father in heaven speaking into my heart every day, all day. But until such times as I'm able to hear that, which I'm hearing more and more all the time, I will be obedient to his commandments and to what he teaches me in this book, because every time I open it, I learn something new that I've heard before, but today I accepted it. Like Psalm 23, I just feel like the Lord is my shepherd. That's awesome. The Lord is my shepherd. And I will just be obedient, work hard, live his laws, watch the devil try his best to tempt me with everything under the sun, and realize that life is a test. Life is a test. Every day is a test. I was going to say every waking moment is a test. But I realize that even in your sleep, there's a test going on. Because I watch my thoughts in my sleep, and I can see how, you've heard people before, how people are attacked by all kinds of crazy things in their sleep. How do you protect yourself in your sleep? Well, you better do it while you're awake, so that when you go to sleep, you have that same consciousness. And I wake up. I'll tell a quick story before I end. When I was about 22 years old, I was at my father's house, and I was lying in bed, sleeping like this. Actually, I was sleeping in my father's bed, taking a nap because I was tired. I'd worked hard, and I was lying there sleeping. And I could carefully, gently, barely hear the people in the rest of the house, because we have a big family. There was noise, and I could hear it. And I was trying to rest, but my consciousness is still awake. My body was relatively asleep. And all of a sudden I heard this, and I was like, what was that? And I've always asked God, what was that, Lord? What was that? And I just laid there, sleeping. And then I could hear whispering. And I thought, that's weird. And the next thing, I felt something just gently touch my legs, just very gently. And I felt it, and I was like, what was that? And then I hear, and I came out of the sleep into a more conscious realm. And I just decided to open my eyes and look. And I was lying there, and I opened my eyes, and I looked down, of course, because you're laying down, and if you're laying in a bed, I looked down at my legs, and there was this little creature on my legs, about the size of a cat, with no hair. So you've seen those ugly hairless cats. And it was talking to something else that was kind of in the other direction. And it wasn't looking at me, but I was looking right at it. And right about then, I said, get the hell out of here. And this thing looked at me, and it jumped over onto the rocking chair that was sitting next to the bed. And then it jumped onto the curtains, and then it just disappeared. Now, the rocking chair moved. The curtain moved. And then it disappeared. And I thought to myself, isn't that interesting? I was in a realm between heaven and hell, I think, in that parallel universe. And whatever this little evil creature was was attempting to see if it could take advantage of me. That's why I said you must be aware in your sleep. When I said, get the hell out of here, I think I said, in the name of Jesus Christ, get the hell out of here. I can't remember, but I will tell you that it was shocking. Right about then, one of my brothers or somebody came in, they're like, what are you yelling about? And I said, something was just like on me. Some creature was on me. And whoever it was, I can't remember which family member was there. They said, yeah, I can feel something weird in this room. This has happened to me twice in my life, where an evil spirit was coming after me in one way or another. And somebody came in the room and said, yeah, I can feel something in this room. So I wanted to just tell that story. That's been 40 years ago, almost 40 years ago, when I was about 22. I told my dad about it. He says, evil's everywhere. And if you allow yourself to go into a deep, deep sleep where you ever been, with somebody where you're trying to wake them up and and they don't wake up? That's too deep of a sleep. You're falling into like a trance state and you don't want to know what's on the other side there. So I just will tell you that, the meditation exercise will help you to find that stillness where you rest in your sleep, but also your consciousness does not go to sleep. It stays guard. So the meditation, very important, very important. And I know a lot of you relate to what I've just told you there. Sleep is a very interesting thing. The body needs it. The body needs it to rejuvenate. The mind is a whole nother realm. And as I'm becoming more and more aware in my life, I feel like I'm seeing more things that are happening around me. I'm conscious of them. I'm more conscious in my sleep, so I'm hearing the Lord speaking to me with these little things. He's probably been talking to me my whole life, and I was just too deaf, too lost in my own craziness to be able to hear his message. But the Lord is my shepherd, and I want to hear him clearly. I want to live this life the way he wants me to. I want to help show you the way to this as well as my Father showed me. So, all right. That's what I got today. The Lord is my shepherd. I love that. I'll see you next week.